Hello, guys, boys, and girls. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It is a beautiful day here in paradise on the Red Mesa today, and I hope you're having as wonderful a day as I am. And friends, I'm gonna get right into this. I have a revelation so big. I know, we have them every day. They're getting to be mundane, aren't they? But it almost looks like each of these revelations are getting more and more profound. I mean, we've dug deep into so many different aspects of things and gotten a better uh, angle at so many different things, and we've fleshed out so many different beautiful facets and jewels and parts of concepts and truths that we did not even know or ever heard anyone said. I mean, so many of these things just nobody has ever even mentioned. And today I'm going to share something about health to you. It's a revelation I've had that is going, if you've been watching my videos and you've seen some of my videos on eating and health and diet, and all of those videos were good, but everything up to this video has been missing something. And the something that we've been missing is the key. Now, we did a video about the foods of the promised land, and that was absolutely true, everything we said in that video. But I don't think that at that point, when we were doing that video, that we knew exactly why, specifically, this diet that was in the Bible that people used to eat in the promised land, why those particular foods would be so important. There is some aspect to this that I've discovered today that will blow your mind. So, I can tell you for many years I've been ignoring the most important part of diet. And I myself got caught up in the scuttlebutt of the talk going around. I mean, there was the Jordan Peterson diet, or his daughter's diet, where they just eat meat. And that literally that whole kind of talk got me. It was partially that got me to stop being a vegetarian, because I wasn't feeling good. I'd been all these years a vegetarian, and I wasn't at all where I needed to be healthy wise. And by the way, if any of you know how to get a hold of Santos Bonacci, I haven't heard from him for a long time. Hope he's doing well. And of course, he's been a vegetarian for a long, long time. And the last time I seen him, he just didn't look good at all. And it couldn't have been good for him that they banned him from YouTube and all the platforms. And I know he was going through a lot. And Santos, if you do end up watching this, I love you, brother. But please, as my brother, listen to what I'm saying, because, I mean, we may have had our disagreements and stuff, and I understand that. But somewhere, Santos, I have an affiliation for you, because, we were both raised Jehovah's Witnesses. And so we have a lot in common that way. And I love and highly respect you. But please, Santos, listen to this, because this is the key. This is what you're missing. Whole grains. Watch the rest of this video, Santos. Please. Love you, brother. And I didn't really know. I seemed healthy. I mean, after all, I was getting older, but I could still walk and do things, and I wasn't dying. So I thought, okay, well, I guess I'm doing all right. But I have noticed for so long, there were periods in my life where I had a lot of back pain and joint pain. Now, I had it bad before I was a vegetarian. I mean, I was crippled half my life. There were days I couldn't even go into work. Well, I would go into work anyway. I remember days where I would go into work literally bent over. I remember one time my daughter and I, she was a little girl. We went to some river or lake or something, and we parked my truck as far as we could toward as near to the lake as we could. And I had a terrible back pain. I was bent over, and I knew I really couldn't walk very far. So I drove the truck as close as I could. There were a lot of rocks. I had to stop before the rocks started getting really big, and me and my daughter got out of the truck, and it was like so much pain just getting out of the truck. And we started just kind of crawling and slowly making our way over these boulders. And I remember thinking, once I got to the water, man, this is stupid. Now I've got to crawl back. And it was getting so painful. I was a little bit worried because my little girl was watching me in pain, trying to crawl. And I don't know if he was kind of getting a little worried that we weren't going to be able to make it back to the truck or what. But, I knew we'd make it if I had to crawl all the way. But these are just moments in my life that I remember going through. So many different times where I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it through life this way. And all of that would disappear and you'd forget all about it. You get on some new fresh start and your back would feel better for a while. And when I became a vegetarian, most of that went away. I wasn't critically bedridden or anything. Like I could, even when I was young, from 18 on, I think it was about, I don't know, I was probably 17 when I had this big old house frame I was trying to lift, and I pulled my back out and pushed my leg up into the socket about a half an inch. It literally crippled me. I was like 17. I shouldn't have been walking around like that. And my mother took me to I had mentioned it to my mom. I was on my own at that time, but I went to go visit my mom. She took me to a chiropractor. And that guy popped my back just enough so I could walk out of that office, that clinic or whatever. And I remember thinking, all he did was pop, pop, and that was it. And he said, if you come back, I'll do the rest of it. I'll do more treatments. You need to come back once a week. And even at the time, I thought, how immoral. In fact, this was like a Seventh-day Adventist that was running this place. They're very into this kind of thing. He was a chiropractor. And he may not have realized it, but he was being dishonest because I needed him. I didn't have the money to go back every week. And I needed my back to be okay. And he could have popped me all the way into place, and I would have had much better chance at getting well and healing. But the way he did it was to try and get me to keep coming back so that he could get more and more money out of us. And so we never went back. But I went through all of this, along with a lot of problems with the dentist and my teeth, bones. I don't know what caused all of this, but I drank a lot of coffee growing up. I never drank a lot of soda. But for whatever reason, this was what was beginning to happen. I remember even when I was, I think about 17, and my cousin said, man, you have a receding hairline. Well, I didn't know what that was at the time, but I did then look at myself in the mirror and realize that I was losing, my hair was thinning at the very top, where in the front, the receding hairline. I didn't think about it at the time, but I don't think a person's supposed to start losing their hair from the time they're 17. So let's face it, you could say that I may have had something going on, something lacking in my diet all this time, and I didn't know anything about it. This is the plight of most human beings. We go through life thinking this is normal. Some of us have, my brothers had back pain. They all went to the doctors. I think one of them had disc removed. I think one of them was going to have his disc removed, but he told the story that he was lying in there and they had to do a spinal fluid removal, drainage to I guess they drain your spinal fluid to do some kind of test or work or operate on your. I don't know exactly what was going, but some kind of a spinal fluid that it would drain into a tube, and then they would put it back into you or something. I don't know, but as they were draining his spinal fluid, the nurse walks out, and I guess it fell out, and he's losing his spinal fluid on the ground. That's the story I heard. So when he screamed, and the nurse ran back over and fixed it, and he said, "Nope, nope, nope, I'm not doing this." And then I remember that the brother that had the disc removed had probably more back pain than the one who didn't have it removed. The one who didn't have it removed, even though he was in a lot of pain, ended up down the road getting a better diet or whatever, and his back wasn't so bad. But I then watched a lot of people go through this joint pain and problems, and my own sister fell down and broke her hip, went into the doctors, and they demanded that she get a new hip replacement. And she's like, I don't know, 45 years old. She's not like some old decrepit person. And I knew at the time, and I even told my sister, I said, if you don't immediately get that removed out of your body, because it was infected. She spent a year taking antibiotics because it was infected. And I told her, I said, sister, you've got to go and remove that or you're going to die. And she didn't listen to me because her husband believed in doctors and didn't believe in me. And she followed her husband's advice. And about 2 weeks later, I got a phone call and she had passed away. And I don't want to go into too much more about that. And I know a lot of my family, if they hear this, are going to be mad at me because they believe in doctors too. And they think, no, it wasn't the doctor's fault. Well, it was. It was the doctor's fault. They should know that you do not cut parts of your body off and put plastic parts or metal parts or whatever they were doing. You don't cut your heart out because it's got a little rip in it and put a pig's heart in there. You don't radiate out your lungs because there's cancer in your lungs and then find out that you needed your lungs. Now you can't breathe. All of this insanity has been going on. But today I want to talk about a part of diet that has not been talked about by anyone. Like I said, you've got the eat only meat belief, and there's people that are doing that and they say they feel better. Well, I can tell you why they feel better. Because eating meat only can give you a lot better health than if you were to eat all the other garbage that most people was eating. One of the reasons for that is that meat has a lot of things that you need in your diet that you might not be getting somewhere else. However, if you know that what you're supposed to be eating is whole grains, and I'll show you this here in a little bit, that will give you all the things that the meat would give you, because the cows go out and eat the grain, and then they have these nutrients, and then we eat the cows. But in this video, I'm going to show you, friends, that the way it's supposed to be done is that we're supposed to eat the grains ourselves, and seeds and nuts and berries and things that we're going to talk about. I know you might say, well, I eat some nuts and I eat some bread. Dave, I eat bread. But remember, the bread that you're eating, 99.999999% of it is not only bleached, chemically denatured, poisoned with formaldehyde and pesticides and biocides in it, bleached, whatever, with the germ removed, which is the most important part, and the chaff and the fiber. But it's not even really a grain, but it's a genetically modified substance. And if it was modified, what does that mean? It means that they've added pesticides and biocides into the grain. You're eating poison. And instead of actually helping you, these foods that we eat every day are killing us. Not only that, but it's damaging the fatty acids that's in it and the nutrients, and it's so when you bleach something, you not only take the color out, you take all the nutrients. And then you take the fiber, you take all the germ and everything out of it. You're eating poison. But all of you know that. And yet, it's like, and even I knew that, years ago, I knew, oh, okay, the grain's not good. But for some reason, I just had no way to find, healthy grains. I didn't know. It's like I didn't go, and I for years, I thought, I heard about amaranth, and I heard about different things, but I never made amaranth bread. I never got into it. I never understood the reason why it would be so important to eat whole ancient grains and seeds and nuts. And today I'm going to, oh man, friends, please try to understand what I'm saying here. We're not eating good food. We're eating poisons. But aside from all of that, you need to understand what is the right, correct, true diet. This is the answer, friends. This is the answer. Everybody you see, the first thing that happens is they start getting arthritis and losing their hair, and their skin gets wrinkled, and they start bending over and haunching, and they can't walk very far, and they look flushed, and they don't look young, and they don't have any energy. And this is part of it too, that I was trying to come to grips with, this whole concept, should we eat sugar? There's this whole kick now where humans should not eat any kind of sugar. I mean, any carbohydrate. And I started kind of getting into that nonsense too, and thinking, well, I guess, maybe we're just eating too much sugar. But now I understand why oats and all of these fibrous grains and nuts and things hold the carbohydrates in like a time capsule, so that it feeds you this glucose slowly throughout the day. When you eat oatmeal or millet or things like this, the sugar or the carbohydrate is locked inside fiber. And the fiber itself, they claim, heals your gut. Well, what they're not explaining is the whole process. It's the protein in the grains and the fiber that create the certain amino acids that break down and create certain things like taurine and creatine. And you hear a lot of this bodybuilders going getting taurine supplements to build muscle, and you're like, okay, what? Like what's taurine? Oh, but vegetarians can't get taurine in their diet. Here's the answer, friends. It's in the grain. It's the balanced 9 amino acids. Some grains don't have enough lysine, but the ancient grains do. Not these modern grains, but the real, and seeds like millet and sorghum and things that we're going to show you and talk about. Amaranth is one of the best. And a thing called teff, which I had never heard before. But and flax seeds and all of these things. And these things have a balanced amino acid. We've never been taught about this. It's so crucial. We've been taught about fats and we talk about carbohydrates and we talk about nutrients and phytochemical, but nobody's talking about the protein. The healthy, balanced protein that is in these ancient grains. It's those amino acids that create the creatine and the taurine that you supposedly can't get if you're vegetarian. Well, the cow is eating the grains and producing the taurine, and you're getting it from the cow, but you can also go eat the whole grains yourself. Here's the thing, for 1,000 years now, people have not eaten these grains? No wonder we're dying. No wonder we're sick. You don't even know what amaranth is. You don't even know that it's the staff of life, this thing, all these nuts and berries we grind up and make a whole loaf from, is life. You will not have arthritis. Now, here's the thing. I don't even know how to tell you this so that you'll believe me or understand. But I've been dealing with this for a while. And one of the things I've been telling you, if you've noticed, that even after I've tried everything, for a while I went on this completely, no sugar, just was eating this whole fat diet with eggs and bacon. I did that for a while. Man, I lost weight. It was doing something. But I noticed that my knees and my joints were still hurting, and it hadn't hurt back when I was, eating normal, eating whatever I wanted, donuts. One day I had a ding dong and my joints felt better. I was like, what's going on? The lie is we don't need sugar. We do, but we need it in the form of grains and vegetables that have fiber that holds it in there to release it throughout the day. It's the only way. I am completely convinced, friends, that these sugars, carbohydrates, glucose is how our body is designed to have energy throughout the day. And I was wrong about that. I've never said we shouldn't eat any sugar, but I was wrong in thinking that we should limit sugar or think it's somehow bad, because the diet in the promised land had figs and dates and pomegranates and wine. I'm like, and honey and what? There's got to be some mix up here. We need energy. I started eating carbohydrates and bam, I've got energy. And I noticed immediately I started like muscle building and stuff. And I was like, what am I eating? Oh, whole grains. And there's carbs in it. And I have energy. I can run. Oh, the difference, friends. Oh, the difference. You'll feel the difference within a few days if you start eating quinoa and amaranth, flax seeds, millet, einkorn, emmer, spelt. Wild rice, guys, is one of the best. I think it's the best grain you can put into your body, or it's one of the ones that they're claiming can build muscle and give you health the quickest. All of these, I'm going to mention 8, 9, 10 different grains and seeds that you can get, and they're all very good, including oats and different things. But get this. This is a connection you got to get this. So if taurine and these amino acids and all this stuff and these protein shakes that bodybuilders are using, if this is to build muscle, then do you see that it is not just building muscle, but it's building the heart muscle, the brain tissue, your body parts. You can't rebuild yourself without these things. It's not about bodybuilding. It's about being alive. And this is the key. But wild rice is right up there at the top. All these different foods that we're going to, oats that we're going to talk, buckwheat. Buckwheat's a seed. These are your lifeline. You must have these things. Add nuts and beans and some greens and berries. But your lifeline is that bread and wine. You must have this, the food of life, the food that grew in the promised land, right? The barley and the einkorn, the grapes, the figs, the dates, and all the things that you found in the promised land, the pomegranates. And if you eat those things, the arthritis will go away. What I've discovered here in a nutshell, and then I'm going to show you some evidence for that. What I've found is that this last little thing that I knew I must be lacking something, because my joints were still hurting, my knees were hurting, even after I'd tried different things. I found the answer, friends. It's whole grains. It's ancient whole grains. Einkorn, emmer, amaranth, and all of these things that we're going to enumerate here. Take a look at this. If you can see here what I see here, combined with all the other information that we're going to present here, this is literally the biggest breakthrough in human well-being and health that has ever been told to the world. And no one could have understood or known this. It was by some divine fiat that the Lord has revealed this to me. I knew for years that the Bible said that bread was the staff of life, the support of life. And I remember even as when I was Jehovah's Witness, I I had this revelation. I was only about 17 or 18 years old. And I remember I was telling people, and I was showing them the verse that says, the bread's the staff of life, and I was saying this to Jehovah's Witnesses, and they were looking at me. It's not something that the Watchtower taught at all. They didn't mention it. Nobody even thought about it. But Jehovah's Witnesses are a lot of, kind of health nut individuals. Sometimes they're looking for alternative methods of health, like other people. But I remember the look on Jehovah's Witnesses' face. Many of them, when they would hear me say that, it was like it made sense. But we didn't know where to go with it. We didn't have any proof. We didn't understand. And then years went by, and people were like, "Oh, bread is the worst thing you can eat," because we're eating wheat, modern wheat, that is hybridized and genetically modified and all of this. But look at this. If you consume ancient grains that provide all the essential amino acids, by the way, there are a lot of grains that do have all the amino acids. Actually, most grains do have all the amino acids, but some of them are low in lysine, and this is probably why in the Bible there are literally recipes in the book of Ezekiel where they added lentils and beans to their whole ancient grains to make bread. And then that makes a perfect balanced protein. You're adding the lysine. You can have beans and corn, or beans have lysine. So when you eat most breads today, you would definitely need to eat a lot of beans or nuts or something with it in order to have a balanced protein. But if you eat the ancient grains, that's not the case. They do have lysine. But here's something. All my life, I was hearing about how vegetarians aren't getting creatine and they're not getting taurine. And words like that nobody talked about much. Nobody really told us why we need them. It's like, oh, you're not getting it. Oh, okay, whatever, And we're told how all these vegetarians, they didn't eat meat and they weren't getting it. And you could get taurine and creatine from meat. But wait a minute. We're not supposed to be killing animals and bleeding them out and, bludgeoning these poor, beautiful, loving creatures that we're supposed to be caretaking. So what's the deal? We can only get taurine and creatine, and these are essential or something from animals, B12. Do you know that B12 is made in your gut? That's why it's in animals, because they got a gut. It's not in plants. It's in your gut. The plants make it in your gut, but your gut can't make it unless you eat the essential amino acids or a balanced protein. And that balanced protein is not found in most vegetables. It's found in grains, ancient grains, even modern like oats, millet. But the ancient grains especially, these have all the amino acids. Guess what these amino acids, lysine and different things that they're always telling you, leucine, oh, you need this or that, or you can go to Walmart and get these things in a supplement, leucine or lysine or whatever. Creatine, taurine. And we're like, oh, we must need that. People use those for bodybuilding. Why? Because as you go through life and you don't eat a balanced protein with all the amino acids, your body cannot repair itself. And your muscles go whee, and your joints go whee, and you get arthritis, and you're dying because you don't have the proper balanced protein. So the solution is not to go buy a bottle of leucine or taurine or whatever, because all of these things are related to the creatine and the taurine. They're made from a combination of amino acids. So if you get the proper amount of, or a balanced protein with all the amino acids, you will make the taurine, you will make the creatine, you will make the B12, and everything that a vegetarian doesn't have, because they didn't eat meat, you can actually make it. Your meat, your gut, you can make those things. That's how it was supposed to be put into your body. You're not supposed to eat animals, but you're supposed to eat the stuff that the animals are eating to make that in their gut. And what do cows do? They go out and eat grain. So the cows have it because they're healthy, because they're eating grain, but you're not. So look what it says. You can consume ancient grains that provide all the essential amino acids, including lysine. Your body can synthesize creatine and taurine, according to the National Institute of Health. Creatine. Your body synthesizes creatine from 3 amino acids: arginine, glycine, and methionine. Remember, there was a lady on Joe Rogan that got real popular because she went on that program. She was talking about glutathione or whatever. Glutathione. I can't remember how. Glutathione. And it was like this, oh, it'll just cure you. It cures cancer. It does all these things. And like, oh, okay, some crazy nutrient we need. Where we get it? All of these things. Look at this. Glutathione. This miracle nutrient that will cure all disease, according to this lady. And then everybody was running with it for a while. What is it? Well, glutathione is an antioxidant produced in the body through enzymatic reactions using the amino acids cysteine, L-glutamic acid, and glycine. It helps repair cells damaged by pollution, stress, and other harmful influences, and is undeniably important. Undeniably important. But you see, a human being who doesn't just eat food the way it's naturally supposed to be eaten, like the natural grains, and remember, we're not just talking about grain as we understand it. We're talking about things like buckwheat. Who eats buckwheat? But it's not really a grain. It's a seed. So there are a lot of seeds and grains, and there's flax seeds and things that you could grind up and put in your bread too. Flax seeds have an inordinately amount of omega-3, which is probably very important in our diet. But all of these things that we hear out there, they're so important. Glutathione and taurine, and for muscle mass. Oh, well, I'm a bodybuilder, I need taurine. No, if you're a human being, you don't want to decrease your muscle mass. You want to be strong like an athlete, even when you aren't necessarily an athlete. So go get taurine in a bottle? No. Eat your natural grains. Buckwheat will improve your muscle mass. Millet and einkorn and emmer and spelt and all of these oats will increase your energy level, your muscle, and all of these things do these other little things like synthesize in your gut this stuff like glutathione that is so important. Don't get it from a bottle. That's not going to work. Synthesizing is not the way to go, friends. The only way that you can be healthy, and I have proven this, and I'm going to show you this hopefully by the end of this video. There's nothing you can do to be healthy. You can develop some knowledge of some nutrient over here, or phytochemical, or whatever the body needs or helps cure cancer, or whatever. But it means nothing. Glutathione cures cancer better than any of these superfoods. And if your muscle's not building, therefore you don't have taurine or creatine or whatever, it's because you don't have the amino acids. And if you don't have the amino acids, it's not because you're not eating meat, it's because you're not eating the old ancient grains, including oats and buckwheat and millet and things that might not be as ancient, but these grains that everybody doesn't eat every day, added with a little beans and nuts, will literally give you eternal life, because you can't go for years and years without building tissue. And everybody knows that, this is kind of general knowledge now, I think. I think even doctors know this now, that if your gut goes and then your liver, you're done. And this is what happens around 40 years old. People, their liver is fatty, and when it's fatty, it's not it's not producing the chemicals and the hormones that you need to be happy. So it's not just for your physical body, but it's mental. It's for your spiritual well-being. It's for happiness. You're going to be depressed, clinically depressed, just from eating the poisons. So the most important thing is to heal your gut. And the way the gut was designed to operate, people talk about, what are we supposed to eat? Caveman diet, monkeys, what do they eat? Trying to figure this out. I don't know how you're going to figure this out. I don't know how you want to get to this point. But I'm going to tell you flat out that it is grain we've been eating for thousands of years. Bread and wine, my friends. Yes, they probably ate a lot of meat with it. But originally, before the flood, I don't think people ate meat. Maybe it got introduced by the giants or something. But certainly Adam and Eve, certainly they would not, just got out of the garden. They knew about the fruit. The earth was closer to perfection. They didn't eat meat right away. But they did, from the very beginning, till the soil and make these grains and find grains. And so we've got to understand that it is the whole grain that heals the gut. The bacteria that's on the fiber in the grain, a specific type of bacteria that's on grapes. Yeah, specific type of bacteria that's on grain. We talked about how, especially rye, but other grains, if they're fermented without adding some foreign yeast, but their own yeast that they have with them, it turns into a psychoactive bread and makes you literally high and alive spiritually and physically. But you've got to fix your gut. And people will say, eat your vegetables, or they'll say this or that or whatever. Collagen or whatever they want to say, but everything you need is in that grain. And that's what creates the natural bacteria. And when you start getting your gut healthy, not only are we going to have all these nutrients to rebuild your body now, and the fatty acids, very important. We're going to talk so much about that today. We talk about that all the time. You got to have these oils and fatty acids. And these oils, natural oils, are in the grains and in some of the nuts and seeds, of course. But not only that, as we have said before, once your gut is healthy and producing all of this, you're also keeping your liver healthy and your organs and kidneys and so forth. And then your body begins to produce stem cells. There's something you did when you were young, but you don't do it as you get older. And that's why you're dying. And it's not just the stem cells, but that's kind of the end of the game. When you stop making stem cells, then you get to be 50, 60, and you just die. 70, you might make it a little longer if you ate a little better than the average guy or whatever. You might not even know why you were eating better. You didn't know that you were eating more grains than most people with added beans and stuff. I mean, my mother used to feed us beans and she used to make whole grain breads. And this is probably why I am as healthy as I am. Because it kept me healthy for a longer period until I got on my own and mom wasn't around anymore. And then I started eating, my Twinkies and the candy and all these bad things and not realizing eating white bread, which was destroying, like with a biocide, destroying whatever bacteria and gut fauna I had. I guarantee that the reason that people start going downhill real fast, maybe sometimes in their 40s or 50s or 60s, is because they ruined the gut lining and they developed a hole. And that ulcer led to a cyst or a tumor in their gut and the dysfunction of their gut. And then they started getting arthritis and going downhill, and they had no idea why or how to fix it. They kept eating their chips and garbage. Or sometimes maybe they'd say, oh, I got to quit eating chips. But they didn't know they got to eat the grains. They didn't know what to do. And I'm going to tell you what to do today, friends. And in the process of building all of the tissue with the protein, the essential amino acids, they're producing antioxidants. They're producing glutathione, curing cancer. They're producing taurine and building muscle mass. And in other words, they're building your body. Without building your body, it just decreases and you die. You might accidentally get enough amino acids to live for 50, 60 years, but you're dying slowly until you're 70 and you're dead. But if you'd been eating buckwheat and oats and einkorn and emmer and spelt and lentils and nuts all these years, you would have the lysine, you would have the taurine, you would have the creatine, you would have the B12, you would have everything your body needs to build healthy tissue. And I did not know this information before this. It's been the last couple of months that I've been learning about ancient grains and just how important they are. And then today, my best friend, the love of my life, I think the wisest woman I've ever met, sent this information about these grains to me, and it just all clicked. And I guarantee, friends, if you'll go out and get these ancient grains, and if you don't have the money to buy ancient grains, get oatmeal, millet, buckwheat, and get it whole. Get it whole. The grain has to have the germ in it, or it's not going to be whole and it won't be healthy. You need to get whole wheat, but not wheat, whole einkorn or whole emmer. Durum is better. If you can't find anything else, get your whole wheat durum at the Walmart. They have that. But go and order einkorn. Go and order whole, natural, organic grains. And barley. And spelt. And then you will have more muscle mass without even exercising. This has been proven. Without even exercising. Glutathione is an antioxidant produced in the body through enzymatic reactions using amino acids, cysteine, L-glutamic acid, and glycine. Isn't that interesting? And here we see that creatine, your body synthesizes creatine from 3 amino acids, arginine, glycine, and methionine. Many ancient grains like quinoa contain all these amino acids, allowing your body to produce creatine from them. Taurine is a synthesized, endogenously produced within the body from sulfur amino acids like methionine and cysteine. Ancient grains that provide these amino acids can support the synthesis of taurine within the body. And friends, that's why bodybuilders are going out and buying taurine supplements. Why don't they just get why isn't somebody telling these athletes to eat einkorn? This is ridiculous, friends. We found the key to life. So creatine and taurine are not directly present in grains. They're not present anywhere. They're made by the amino acids in the grain. You're either going to get them from eating right in your own gut, or you're going to kill an animal and steal their taurine that their body made when they ate the grains. And no one has ever explained any of this, that you do not, I used to talk about this. I was vegetarian for many years, over 10 years. I lost count, like 12, 13 years, something. And I used to hear all this rhetoric and think, well, what about the taurine, Dave, and the creatine? You can't get that from, being a vegetarian. And I'm like, oh. Then there were other people like, well, your body will synthesize it. And others like, well, yeah, but it can't do it because we've tried it and we've done experiments. Well, they've tried it because they've never, in other words, they've done experiments on people, tests, and they didn't have enough taurine or cysteine or whatever. But that was because they never fed any of them the ancient grains or the proper balanced protein. Nobody's realized how important this balanced protein is. I mean, I remember getting off on one kick or another, like, oh, it's all about the fat. And I've been talking about that. That's important because we have to have a balanced everything. This is why eggs are important and things like nuts and milk, because things like nuts and milk, because they have omega-3, butter. So you do need this proper oil, this olive oil and butter and coconut oil and nuts, walnuts. But you also need a balanced protein, which eggs have a balanced protein and a balanced fat. So that's why eggs are really the perfect food. But you would want to get most of these amino acids and nutrients from whole grains. You can get it from fish, and this is why Jesus added fish to the diet. And I think fish is probably a very important part of our diet. And we're going to learn to go fishing. I'm going to get a boat, and I'm going to start going to this little lake down here, Rama Lake, and I'm going to start fishing. And I'm even thinking of going to Utah and going down the Green River, but we need to start eating the whole grains, friends. We need to do that. But anyway, guys, I'm only at 46 minutes and 24 seconds, but I'm going to end it there. We'll keep it sweet and short, and just recommend that you guys all run out right now. Go on to Amazon or eBay or wherever you go. Order all of the grains and seeds and nuts and stuff that we have been talking about. Go in your kitchen, put a couple of cups of these different grains and mix and match them. Put nuts in there, and you can even put some beans or other fruits and things in your bread. You can make a banana type bread. You don't need yeast. You can just put baking soda or whatever they put in there. And it makes a real moist, delicious bread. But you can also make the old-fashioned bread with your yeast and stuff. But if you're going to do that, and you really want to get to where we're making bread the way it's supposed to be done, we need to learn how to take certain grains and mill them ourselves, and then let them ferment on the counter from their natural yeast that's on them. We'll talk about that in another video. But guys, go out and get these foods. You will love this diet. You don't need chips and cookies and all these other things and ice cream. Although if you like ice cream, and I love it, all you got to do is go to Walmart or any kind of, even the dollar store, and get that bag of frozen fruit that's got different kinds of fruit frozen. Put that in the blender and put some whipping cream in there or some milk. Throw a banana in it or whatever, and you got you some ice cream. Because it's frozen, it makes ice cream. And there will be no bad ingredients in there, just whole fruit and cream. There you go. But you can take these things and make a bread that is so good. It'd be like sitting around eating chocolate cake, but it's going to be pecan or amaranth cake, right? And you can make them sweet. We don't mind that. Put a little honey on it. Get you a big glass of wine. And man, that's just the best. And some cheese. You get some really good cheese. And you put some tomato sauce on that bread you made. And cheese and, some olives and stuff. And you got a pizza, an actual healthy pizza. I'm going to go ahead and go. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. The Lord will bless you. He loves you so very much. His grace and His peace will be with you all. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.